Well, hello. We're back in the kitchen again, and with Sarica Cernohous. She's back, and I'm sure you're going to show us something new. This is great. How have you been?
I've been doing great. Thanks,
Great,
Kelly.
good. So you're going to talk to us about soaking grains, and we've talked about soaking different types of nuts and stuff on here before. But why grains? And this is something that's going on for a long time.
It is, yep.
Okay.
This is a traditional food preparation technique.
Alrighty.
If you go back in time for, forever, people have been pre-preparing grains. And you can also do it, you can do it with beans.
Right.
And folks are pretty used to
We're
doing
used to that.
Yep. But using any flours, any whole grains, you can do it with seeds, you can do it with nuts.
Right.
And there's the reason for doing so, because people think, well, my gosh, why can't I just eat, the whole wheat bread straight out of the package?
It's a done deal.
Exactly, it's done.
Because of expediency, I think, is we've lost the nutrients because we want to do everything so quickly.
That's right. We are buying things on such a mass scale.
Right. So this is going to take me a long time.
It doesn't. What you need to set aside the time for is for it to do what it needs to do. But the actual work on your part is very quick, very simple.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah,
so,
and it's
so it's
true.
not me doing all the work.
No.
It's let them do the work.
It's the process.
All right.
Yeah, and the process does take time. My kind of rule of thumb when I soak anything is I do like to allow about a day for that soaking process to happen. So anything I'm wanting to prepare, I think about it about 24 hours beforehand, and then make sure I have it on hand.
You got to get in the mode, because most people don't think that far in
No,
advance.
and it's true. As with any traditional food preparation techniques, start with one thing, master it, and then move on to the next thing.
I'm still
Don't
working
overwhelm.
on the yogurt.
Yep.
Just let you know. I'm still working on it.
That's
Okay,
all
got it.
right.
Okay.
Me too.
So what do we have?
Yeah, and so what we have here, I brought along some coconut flour,
Okay.
and I also brought along some gluten-free rolled oats.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free.
Now, I know gluten-free. This is naturally gluten-free right here.
Yes.
This oat. But you're saying it's gluten-free because?
It's gluten-free because it is processed in a facility that does not process gluten-containing grains.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so inherently oats aren't a problem for people who have celiac disease or an intolerance to gluten, but it's the processing. It's trying to put so many things through one facility.
And we didn't used to have a problem with gluten, I don't think,
Right.
in history. But it's because of everything we do with all our processing, the GMO foods and stuff like that, it's changed. Because if you go to Europe,
Yeah.
people don't seem to have that problem.
No, it's amazing. You can take an American who seems to have some digestive upset with eating gluten-containing foods in the States, and you send them to Europe where they do not do GMO foods,
Right.
and they're eating foods that are processed in a slower way this way, and they tend to be able to handle it fine. And now I'm not saying this about a person who's necessarily celiac disease, but I'm talking about a person who just has an intolerance to that protein.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And they come back to the States and then
They
have
got a problem
again.
There you go.
Yes.
So go back to what's natural.
That's
we
right.
talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
so-
And the reason that you would want to bother with doing this is because we kind of touched on it a little bit. Gluten can be one component in grains. In any of these types of hard, durable foods, you have these components that are called anti-nutrients.
Right.
And something like tannins can fall under that, phytic acid can fall under that. And when you have these components that are not pre-digested by a soaking process, what happens is they stay with the bran, and that's where all the minerals are. And so if that bran isn't broken down by a warm water soak for a 24-hour period, or at least an 8-hour period, then what happens is anytime a person eats that food, they're losing a lot of the minerals that they're consuming.
So we don't digest it that way.
That's right. That's right.
Other animals do, though.
Well, other animals do. That's true. Because most other animals, they've got a few things going for them.
Okay.
They've got different dentition than we have.
Okay.
We have omnivorous dentition,
Right.
where we've got some tearing and we've got some chomping.
Okay.
If you're looking at a cow or a giraffe, that's all straight chomping. And then if you look at what's inside of those animals, they tend to have multiple stomachs, which has different enzyme gradients, different
point.
pH gradients, and different bacteria. And so when we're dealing with a human being, what we're dealing with is an animal that has a rather simplistic, short digestive tract versus one of these other ruminants like a cow. But the issue is we've also got a huge brain for what the rest of our body is.
I'm not touching that one. So
We really
anyway.
do. We really do. And so we need to get a lot of nutrition to support what's going on
Okay.
here. And if we're eating grains and nuts and seeds, legumes that are not pre-digested this way, then we are not getting the full spectrum of nutrition that our ancestors were accustomed to and what our DNA has been designed over the eons to support. And so in the last, 100 years or so, we have gotten into
Quick
this.
fix, how to
quick
get it quicker.
fixes. That's right.
That's right.
It's commercial processing.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and what would I be using coconut flour for? I mean, you're
Right.
saying it's a flour, so I'm assuming.
It's made from the meat of a coconut,
Okay.
is what it is. And you can see it's got this wonderful kind of oiliness
Mm-hmm.
to it. It's not your average flour. A lot of people, you may have heard of the paleo diet.
Yes.
Okay, where people are, reducing their carbohydrate load. They will use coconut flour in lieu of using grain flours.
Okay.
It's very high in fat.
And this has been rehydrated, the same stuff.
And this is what I have rehydrated. This is something, this is coconut flour, and it's very hydrophilic. This stuff loves water. You will be surprised at how much water you have to add to that coconut flour for it to fluff up and look like mashed potatoes like this.
Hey, that does look like
It
mashed
looks
potatoes.
like mashed potatoes. And so what I like to do with coconut flour is I'll make quick breads with it. It also requires a lot of eggs to really bind it because it does not have gluten.
And no gluten.
Has no
Okay.
gluten, okay? But it makes a very nutritious, high in conjugated linoleic acid, CLAs. It's a very nutritious flour to work with, and it's totally safe for people who have gluten intolerance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about oats because we always see oats, they're quick oats, whatever. We don't want that. We want the natural oats. The steel cut oats, the
Well, steel cut oats, a lot of people cook Irish oats, that kind of a thing. To be
soak 'em.
honest, but even these are rolled oats. These have
Rolled
been
oats,
processed.
that's right.
Yeah, and these have been processed. If these were oat groats, they wouldn't look like this. They
Okay.
would look more like a wheat berry.
right, that's what I was thinking.
Yep, and these have been processed to a degree. But the thing that's so wonderful about this soaking technique is that in doing so, you're creating a new food, something that is very rich in enzymes. If you were to add a little bit of a probiotic, which is possibly the liquid from yogurt, you would put that whey in there, and that would work on the carbohydrates in
Good.
here. Yeah, it makes it a very nutritious food that is high in B vitamins. You don't have the minerals being leached as they go through your
Right.
system. I mean, so that's wonderful. So you can take something that has been a little bit processed,
Okay.
and with doing this technique, you kind of bring it back
Bring
to
it back
life.
to what we want.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And then that's something you can do with
do
beans
with the beans.
as well.
Great, because
Yeah,
I know
a hard
I've
bean.
learned that before, but we'll touch on that later on, I'm sure.
Sure, sure.
This is what we're going to do
Yeah.
for the oats, and I have nothing to eat, though.
I know. I'm sorry.
I
Sorry,
guess we'll
Kelly.
go to another segment. I like this part because I always get to eat something. But I like this because we are getting back to their basics, and that's what
Yeah.
we need to do. Getting
Yeah.
back to the basics. Quit trying to get everything so fast. Just
Yeah.
take some time. Eat some good oats.
That's it.
But I can't. So
Sorry.